Hello, good morning, and welcome to our webinar today. We have with us Jack Rothstein from Brainfuse, and he's going to walk us through three of their programs, JobNow, HelpNow, and VetNow. So Jack, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come in and either learn about or get refreshed on our programs. Some, if not many or all of you may be aware, we've been serving libraries in Connecticut through CLC since 2009, which is when we first launched our JobNow program. For most of this time, most libraries in the state did subscribe or do subscribe to JobNow. And then within the last couple of years, we also introduced via CLC access to our HelpNow and VetNow programs. So we're going to touch a little bit on all three. And we were working with some Connecticut libraries with one or both of those other services independent of CLC prior to the last couple of years. And so I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see? This is the HelpNow homepage. We're going to start with HelpNow this morning.
Yes.
Okay, great. So as you may be aware, the three programs cover three different, and there's going to be some overlap, but three different segments of your communities. HelpNow provides access to live tutors for academic support for kindergarten up through adult learners. JobNow, as most of you know, provides support for someone going through a job search. There's access to job coaches, interview coaches, resume coaches, and as of about 2 years ago, unemployment benefit navigators. That's a newer enhancement to JobNow. And then VetNow came to the market about 5 years ago, and it supports veterans and their families. There's access to a VA benefits navigator, college level tutoring. Many veterans go to school or go back to school when they leave service, and career transition support for veterans. So there is a little bit of overlap amongst our three services with academic support or career transition, but yeah. Each service is supporting different aspects or different members of your community. So let's go ahead and start with HelpNow. And I am using a different library's website kind of for my demo this morning. And so first thing to show you, upper right-hand corner, you'll see English, but I can also convert the site to Spanish. Not only is the site converted to Spanish, but when I connect with a tutor, I'll connect with a tutor who will communicate with me in Spanish, but assist me in the academic area that I need help with. And I'm guessing for many, if not most of you, that may be relevant for at least some members of your community. Let's jump over here to Expert Help, live tutoring. This is where I'm going to go if I'm working on today's homework assignment and I get stuck. And so I can select grade and then subject. There are two drop-down lists. Kindergarten up through 12th grade. And we also have some basic college support. And one of our newer enhancements provide FAFSA assistance. And I'll get into a little more detail on that a bit later. So for selecting a grade, depending upon what grade level I choose, will determine what subjects are available. So for K through 2nd grade, I can choose between math and reading support. As I get older, more subjects are available. So when I'm in the 3rd grade, these subjects are available. And by the time I'm a high school senior, all of these subjects are available.
I'm going to run away.
And then I click Get Live Help, and I'll connect with a tutor who can help me. And when I connect with a tutor, we'll work in our online classroom, which is a whiteboard and a chat area. And here's an example of a Q&A type session. And Q&A sessions are a big part of what we do. So if I'm working on my math homework and I get stuck, I may want to connect with a tutor instantly to figure out why I'm stuck or get some assistance. And so in a moment, the tutor is going to ask me to put my problem up on the whiteboard here, and away we go. So what you're seeing here is in software, this is just the back and forth interaction between a tutor and a student. And as I mentioned, Q&A support is a big part of what we do, but we also recognize, and this is unique to our service, that when a student needs help, it's not always about today's homework assignment. Sometimes a student may be struggling with a skill or a concept. Some examples might be a younger student who may not always clearly articulate what it is that they need help with. Or perhaps I'm struggling with reading comprehension, and it can be difficult to address something like reading comprehension with a blank whiteboard. So in instances like these, our tutors also have the ability to load lessons up on the whiteboard to facilitate learning or instruction. What this means is a student doesn't need to have a specific question in order to get things started or get help. They can just connect with a tutor and say, I don't understand, or I need help. So here's an example of what that type of interaction may look like. So a younger student has logged on. I'm not a good reader. And so it could be, math oftentimes is easier because you can put that problem up on the whiteboard as a starting point. But with something like reading comprehension, it can be a little bit more difficult. So in a moment, the tutor is going to load a lesson here, the wooden horse, and work through this lesson with the student to help me practice and improve my reading comprehension skills. Lessons are designed to be age and grade appropriate. Even though students are using computers at younger ages, it doesn't mean that a second or fifth grader is a wizard with the keyboard. And so lessons for younger students involve greater use of the mouse. Underline this, circle that, choose between options. Lessons for older students involve greater use of the keyboard as well as the mouse. And the coup de grace with our lessons, and this is very important, again, it's unique to our service, is that all of our materials are aligned with Connecticut State Board of Education standards. So I'm not sure off the top of my head, and perhaps one of you may be aware, I believe Connecticut is aligned with Common Core standards. And if anyone, I see some heads nodding yes. So assuming that that's correct, then the materials Connecticut students access are aligned with Common Core standards. If in fact it's something else, then our curriculum team will have aligned with whatever the standards are. And let's say 2 years from now, the Board of Education chooses to adopt a different set of standards, then our curriculum team will adjust your materials to reflect whatever those new standards are the summer before they go into effect. So even if there are changes made in the future, your students will always be current with the standards and the materials that they're working with aligned with Connecticut Board of Education standards. And so that shows some examples of working with a tutor. But let's talk about our tutors for a moment. Who are they? Where are they? What's their background? What are their credentials? So again, this is unique to our service, but all of our tutors are based here in the US. We don't mean to suggest that there aren't qualified tutors in other parts of the world, but because of the work that we do with schools and libraries, we need to do a very thorough security and background check on each and every tutor. And we couldn't get to that level of scrutiny for someone in India or Canada or Mexico or what have you. So for that reason, all of our tutors are here in the US. Also, they must have, and again, this is unique to our service, they must have at minimum a 4-year degree, and roughly 80% of our tutors have their master's. And you can't just come to us and say, well, I have a 4-year degree, what are my hours? We put you through a series of exams to prove that you not only have the appropriate subject matter expertise, but that you're also an effective communicator in a one-to-one online environment. Someone may be a wonderful teacher in the classroom, but that doesn't necessarily mean they communicate effectively using our platform. So we're both testing and training for those skills as well. A baseline tutoring program provides live tutor access. Typically, it's 7 days a week, 9 hours a day, usually from 2 to 11 local time. So in your case, Eastern time. If you have different needs, please let us know and we'll do our best to accommodate. But the vast majority of our libraries are Sunday through Saturday from 2 to 11. Now, let's move to the writing lab. The writing lab is very popular. It comes in 2 flavors: the ability to connect in real time with a live writing specialist, and most importantly, the ability to upload or send in my paper to the writing lab, where it will be assigned to a writing specialist who goes off in a corner and goes through your paper with a fine-tooth comb. And this can be anytime I have written or created something that I would like someone else to take a look at. Book reports, essays, term papers, research papers. Again, anytime I have written or created something that I would like someone else to take a look at. And to get the greatest impact, I do recommend you upload, you send your paper in. And I'm going to show an example of a paper that's been critiqued. But before I do that, once a paper's been uploaded and it's been critiqued, there's never ever emailing between a tutor and a student. All communication takes place within our system. So once a paper's been critiqued, it'll be put into your message center. That's your inbox. And so just wanted to highlight that. And so here's an example of a paper that's been submitted to the writing lab for critique. This is a narrative writing review. The reviewer starts off with an overview. You have the beginnings of a riveting story. We'll then go into content development, structure, style, grammar and mechanics, formatting. We'll include a nice revision checklist that you can use, and additional feedback or comments within the body of the submission. And I think you'll agree, this is a very comprehensive approach, and we do recommend, especially for papers, 3, 5, 10, 20 pages longer, something a little bit longer to get the greatest impact, send it in. But having said that, there is certainly a time and a place when a real-time session can make sense. Some examples might be, I have a paper to write, but I'm not sure what I want to write about. So I may want to connect with a writing specialist to brainstorm themes or ideas for my paper. Maybe I've started working on my outline and I get stuck, so I want instant help with my outline. Maybe I've already submitted my paper once or 3 times. We don't limit how many times you can send your paper in, but before I turn it into my teacher, I may want to go through and review my paper in a live session. That's a great use for a real-time session. And then, of course, there is the student whose paper is due the next morning. They're out there, they're plentiful. We're not going to turn someone away and say, well, too bad, you should have sent your paper in yesterday. We'll still go through and work with them and help as best as we can. But again, I think you'll agree it would be difficult to get into this level of detail in a live session, especially for a longer paper. But if you don't have time to send it in, we'll go through and work with you and provide and help out. And as I mentioned, the writing lab is very popular. One of my favorite stories to share comes out of the Las Vegas, Clark County, Nevada system, where several years ago, I heard that the valedictorian for one of the Las Vegas high schools was using our writing lab to help her craft her commencement speech. And it's a great story to share, and it's a nice illustration of different ways the writing lab can be used. Another example might be, I'm applying for college, and as part of my application, I need to do an essay. Well, as part of the process, I may want to have someone take a look at my essay before I send it in, along with my application to the college or colleges that I hope to get accepted by. Next up is Skill Surfer. Skill Surfer is set up for self-study. It's a library of practice tests and assessments, worksheets and practice sheets. helpful articles, and in some cases, videos. And over time, we continue to add additional modules and tools and resources here. So at the top, we recently added something that we call life skills. And so we have some practical skills here for time management, financial literacy, media literacy, home skills, creative thinking. And in this section, we first added, some of you may remember in the early days of COVID, there was a Netflix miniseries called The Queen's Gambit. And it really renewed an interest in the game of chess again. So we thought that it would be fun to provide support for those that may enjoy playing chess or may want to learn the game of chess. So our first edition in this area was chess, and then we added mind benders shortly after that. And then more recently, we added the practical skills and creative thinking sections. So continue to check back with our services if you currently subscribe to us, or if you add us in the future, because nothing stays static. We're always growing and improving the resources available. Next up, moving back into more of the academic support, for the lower elementary level, grades kindergarten through second grade, we provide here math, reading, and science support. For upper elementary, grades 3 through 5, we have reading, writing, math, science, and social studies support. At the middle school level, we have the same subjects for grades 6 through 8. At the high school level, reading, writing, math, science, and social studies. And at the bottom here, AP exam prep and high school equivalency test prep. And these last two sections are going to pop up in multiple locations on our site. We want to make it as easy for people to find what they need help with as possible. So let's say I'm taking Algebra 1 this year. You'll see here that we have some practice tests. Now, many of you libraries, and I'm not sure if there's something available through CLC or not, but I know that services like Learning Express and Gale has a testing database are popular in the library world. And those services do a fine job of providing access to a practice test, and once you complete it, quickly providing your results. But there's not typically a lot of next steps or follow-up after that. We wanted to take things a step further. And we know that there are other services out there that also provide access to practice tests. But what I believe is unique about our services, when we developed our tests, everything was developed to integrate with our tutoring. And so if I take an Algebra 1 practice test, upon completion, I quickly get my results. But if I choose to, I can connect with a live tutor either then at that moment or a day later, a week later, a month later. I can connect with a tutor who can access my test results and then work with me in a targeted fashion based upon what I got right and what I got wrong in the practice test. So essentially, I can create my own custom learning plan. And we think that's a real strength, a real advantage to our service. And I believe it's unique that other providers may not have that same tight integration between test available and access to live tutors. Additionally, here in SkillSurfer, we have other tools for self-study or learning. Flashcards, we have here videos that have the little play button or the little triangle here, worksheets or practice sheets that have the little page graphic. So if teachers started talking about the distributive property in class today, I may come home after school, go into SkillSurfer, and I see that there's a video here. I might want to check this out. So let's take a look.
Welcome to Brainfuse. In this lesson, we're asked to use distributive property to rewrite the following expressions. But we can already do the first expression by just using PEMDAS, or the order of operations. There we do parentheses first, so that's 6 plus 2, that's 8. So we end up with 3 times the sum of 6 plus 2, which is 8. And that's equal to 24. And that's true, but there's also another way to solve it. That is by using distributive property.
Now, I'm not going to play the whole video, but just want you to have a sense of what's here. And so if I watch this video and it helps me better understand the concept in this lesson, then wonderful. But if I watch it and I still don't quite get it, I can always click on the Get Live Help button here at the top, and I'll connect with a tutor who will know what video I was watching. And presumably, if I'm coming from the distributive property video, I want additional help understanding the distributive property. Also, as I mentioned, there are worksheets here. So let's take a look at this distributive property worksheet. So we'll start off with a definition. We'll have example problems, practice problems that I can work on, and an answer key at the bottom. And again, at the top, the Get Live Help button. So if I get stuck using one of our worksheets, I can always connect with a tutor who will know what worksheet I'm using and can work with me to help me understand why I'm stuck or where I'm stuck. I can also track my progress in each section over here on the left-hand side. And we added Skills Surfer almost 10 years ago now, because we recognize that different people like to learn in different ways. The way I'm wired, if I get stuck, I'm going straight to a tutor because, hey, I'm stuck, I need help. The way you're wired, you may be more audio or visually inclined. And so you may appreciate having a video that you can watch to explain a concept. Or maybe you like to try to figure things out on your own. And so you may appreciate having a worksheet that you can tackle. But with all of these approaches, I can ultimately connect with live tutors for additional help or guidance as needed. In addition to the academic support here, there are other modules that are part of Skills Surfer. College Now is designed to help someone who is thinking about going to college or wants to go to college, but maybe they don't know the process, the steps. And so they can go into each one of these three sections: introduction to the application process, how to apply, and next steps, and get additional help and guidance going through that. ABSFAB, for any members of the community that may be considering a military career, they can prep for the ABSFAB exam here. And it's an e-resource, so you don't need to worry about the study guide being checked out and somehow not finding its way back to your library. It'll always be here. And just like I mentioned for students, I can take the ABSFAB practice test and then do follow-up work with tutors after I complete the practice exams. Computer and technology support for Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, plus these programming languages. And we recently provided support for Google Tools, which is becoming more popular with so many students. College entrance exam prep. Once again, here's the AP test prep I mentioned would pop up again. ACT prep, SAT prep, PSAT, and TOEFL. Adult learner resources. HelpNow is not just for kids. And again, here at the bottom, the high school equivalency test prep is popping up here again. ESL support. And at the bottom, the parent corner, which is here to assist parents who are looking for ways to better help their children with their studies. There are some helpful how-to videos for using different aspects of our service. There are helpful articles, such as communicating with teachers, confused about your child's curriculum, help your child build math skills. And since the very early days of COVID, and quite frankly, between you and me, I hope we can take this section down soon, but advice for the COVID-19 outbreak. I was real thrilled. Our curriculum team really worked quickly, and this section was added by early April of 2020, not too long after everything started shutting down. And at that time, so many families were quickly and unexpectedly pivoting either towards homeschooling, or many schools needed to shut down in 2020 and some even in 2021 and offer remote learning options to their students. So here we have support for best practices for homeschooling, as well as best practices for remote learning at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. So that's everything that's in SkillSurfer today. Next up is Send Question, which works just like the writing lab. During times when live tutors are not available, I can upload a question. Perhaps I can also attach any supporting documentation. And within 12 to 24 hours, a response will be crafted, and I'll find it here in my message center. The language lab here, we have live support for those that are learning or studying Spanish. We also have a vocabulary builder tool for those that may be tackling or learning other languages. And I know many libraries subscribe to Rosetta Stone or Pronunciator or Mango. And what we have here can be very helpful for those that use our services, but I'm not going to suggest it's robust enough to serve as a replacement for those other resources that are popular with libraries, but it can still be very helpful for those that use our services. And then at the bottom, under expert help, we have featured services. And so once again here, we can access the chess tutoring or online resources. Again, this is more of a fun area for those that enjoy playing chess or want to learn the game. Next to it, the FAFSA support. This is a little bit more serious. For someone that plans to go to college and is seeking financial aid, my understanding is the FAFSA process, especially the first time or two that you go through it, can be pretty onerous. And so we thought a couple of years ago that it would be helpful to provide access to FAFSA specialists who can be there to answer questions and provide guidance. Now, I do want to stress, they're not going to ask patrons for any personal information. We're not going to ask for social security numbers or household income. We're really there more to answer questions and provide guidance if someone is going through this process and gets confused. So that covers everything under expert help. Next is study. And the first thing we're going to talk about is our one seasonal resource, summer camp. Now, summer camp is up from June 1 to September 1 each year. And it's designed to help combat the summer slide. From when school lets out in the spring to when it starts up again in the fall, I may forget things that I learned the year before. And so within summer camp are different projects, experiments, activities that I can do at my own pace to help stay sharp during the summer. Next up is the LEAP learning platform. LEAP is a diagnostic test center. So once I complete a LEAP course or assessment, we will automatically create a learning plan for you that includes targeted lessons, quizzes, and live online tutoring. And so some of the courses or assessments that are available here include these different ACT practice sections, college readiness exams, GED prep, and here at the bottom, we have an SAT full-length practice test. So again, once I complete the exam, we will create your learning plan that you can go through to exhibit or create a greater mastery of these subjects. Next up is Flashbulb. Now, Flashbulb is more of a fun area. It's a library of electronic flashcards. And we all know about flashcards. They're not real sexy, but they can be an effective study aid or tool. And so in our Flashbulb library, most people will create their own card sets. And I'll get back to that in a moment. But other users may choose to come in and select from card sets that have already been created. So let's go in. And if something has the gold circle with the check mark, that means it's been created by the Brainfuse curriculum team. So let's go into 50 states and capitals. You'll see that it's expert approved up here at the top. So on one side, we have a question, the other side, an answer. I got that one right. Oops, I missed that one, and so on. Now, the fun part here is once I select a card set, I can click on any of these other buttons and convert my card set to a game or an activity. So if I click on crossword, it converts my card set to a crossword puzzle. If I click crossword again, it creates a different crossword puzzle. If I click on scramble, and please note it is scramble, not Scrabble. We don't want to get sued by our friends at Parker Brothers for copyright infringement. And there are different games and activities here for different age and grade levels. A younger student may want to play a game of snowman, formerly called hangman. I'm not sure if we're getting too PC on the Brainfuse side, but we thought it'd be more fun to call it snowman. Or I may want to play a game of bug match, which is a simple little video game. I move the smiley face spider around the board using the up and down and left and right arrows on my keyboard. An older student may prefer to convert their card set to a study table, or perhaps a matching table. Now, I'm not going to go through every button here, but we'll highlight a few more. Top row far right, you'll see quiz and tests. I can convert my card set to a multiple choice quiz format. I can also convert to a test format, which is similar but a little different. Starts off with matching, finishes up with fill in the blank. Also, we recognize that some people, although I am wondering if over time, if this may be fewer and fewer people, but some people like to have a hard copy in hand when they study. They want to hold on to something. And so if you go to the print button, as I scroll through, you can see that there are multiple print formats that I can choose from to print out my card set. And as I get to the bottom, I can even print out a word search puzzle or a crossword puzzle or a matching quiz. Now, as I mentioned a few moments ago, most people create their own card sets. And so I can go up to the top here and click create, and then go to the upper right-hand corner and create new flashbulb. And here I can give my card set a name. I can click on data, where I can type in a question and an answer. And by the time I'm done, I've created a new card set. Plus, I don't need to worry about creating crossword puzzles or hangman games. The sprites that live in the software do that for us. I'm not really sure how it works. I just know that it does. This can also be a wonderful way to if and when your libraries do outreach to your local school districts. This can be a wonderful way to get teachers engaged. A teacher may choose to create a card set or multiple card sets for their class to use as a study aid for the upcoming quiz or exam. And the student can just do a keyword search to find the card set that their teacher has created. Also, as I mentioned, remember if it has the gold circle with the check mark, that's been created and vetted by the Brainfuse curriculum team. So that's Flashbulb, a fun area. Next up is eParachute. And some of you may remember eParachute from our JobNow service that so many of you already subscribe to. And you may recall that eParachute is from the people behind the What Color is Your Parachute Job Seeker's Guide, the longtime book. Now, the author of that book is a gentleman, Dick Bowles. Sadly, Mr. Bowles passed away about 6 years ago. But about 10 years ago, Mr. Bowles and his son started a new company called eParachute that takes the same methodology that's taught in the book and puts it into an interactive online user guide, where based upon my likes, dislikes, strengths, weaknesses, and experiences can help me drill down and determine what type of job or career I may want to pursue. Brainfuse has partnered with eParachute from their beginning, so access to it is free for the libraries and their patrons that subscribe to our services. Otherwise, the patron would need to purchase a subscription directly from eParachute. So it was a natural fit for our JobNow service, but several years back, eParachute added a section to assist a incoming or early stage college student, where again, based upon their likes, dislikes, strengths, and weaknesses, can help me figure out what I may want to major or major and minor in university. And when they added that section, we thought it would be helpful to provide a link for eParachute on the Help Now page as well. Also, I've given it some thought, and I think the use of eParachute can be a wonderful exercise to get a young person to start thinking about their future. I'm thinking about middle school age kids and high school age kids. I may go through eParachute, and when I'm done, it may introduce me to jobs or careers that I've never even heard of. Wait a minute, I can get paid to do that? I love doing that. I had no idea that could be a job when I grow up. So lots of great uses for eParachute. Next up is Collaborate. And here we are repurposing our online classroom, the whiteboard and chat area. With Meet, I can organize virtual study groups. Now, most of your libraries may have meeting rooms or public rooms that individuals or groups can reserve and come together and collaborate. And it probably, at least during the early and perhaps middle part of COVID, those physical meeting spaces were no longer available to the public. I'm hoping that by now, most of them, if not all of them, are again. Well, think of our Meet button as a virtual version of your physical meeting spaces. So let's say I'm going to have an algebra test on Friday, and I want to organize a study group. I will go to Meet. I will type in a title for the meeting. I will type in the email addresses for the friends or classmates who I want to join me. Now, the test is Friday, and I'm a high school student, so by definition, this means I don't put things off to the last minute. So I'm going to organize a study group, let's say Thursday night at 8. I'll give it a description, I'll click send. This will email an invite to the friends or classmates who I would like to join me. And within that invite will be a URL, a link. And at the appropriate day and time, I'll click that link, and we'll come together in our online classroom where we can work on the project or study for the quiz or the test together. And I got to tell you, Meet's been around for almost 10 years now, but it's never been more popular than the last couple of years when, especially in the early and middle part of COVID, that we were advised against coming together in groups. And we do know that resources like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and others have become very popular, especially over the last couple of years. But I still feel using our platform is an advantage, and I'll show this in a moment, because our platform is designed with academics in mind. A Zoom, the ability to show myself and share in a virtual get-together with friends can be very helpful. But without that whiteboard and the academic tools that are a part of it, it doesn't lend itself as well to academics as our program does, which I'm going to show you here in a moment, because with Meet, I can organize group study. With Brainwave is more set up for self-study or one-to-one study. Let's say I'm in algebra class with one of you, and I'm struggling, you're doing well, and I ask you for some help. We may sit down together, and over the course of an hour, you walk me through the steps for solving for, let's say I need help with mapping the slope of 2 points on a graph. Well, you probably can't do this with the click and drag and the graph or number lines or other tools in Zoom or Teams and so on. And so you walk me through the steps for solving for this type of problem or an equation. And what we're really doing here is creating a step-by-step how-to video that I can save and replay whenever I want. And we built in an intelligent recording feature, so it only records when there is motion or activity taking place on the whiteboard or in the chat area. So while I'm talking right now, it's not recording. While I'm drawing on the whiteboard here, it is recording. What this means is, even though our study session may last an hour, when I go to replay my brainwave, it may play back in 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. So it's kind of like editing out the commercials when I record a show. When I'm done, I can click stop. I can give my brainwave a description. I can email it to others. I can save it. And this is another way to get teachers engaged. Perhaps I create my own brainwave, or my parents create a brainwave for me. Or once again, if you're doing outreach to the schools, a teacher may want to create a brainwave or multiple brainwaves for, once again, the class to use as a study aid or tool for the upcoming quiz or exam. Here are brainwaves that I've created. I can also do a keyword search to find brainwaves that others have created, or I may want to find something else that I find helpful. So that covers brainwave. Next up is CloudPak. CloudPak is online storage for those that use our service. It also integrates with our mobile app. We recognize that not everyone has a computer at home. Not everyone has a flash drive or knows about Google Docs or iCloud or Dropbox or other services that allow you to save your work online. So we thought it would be helpful to provide a place for people to save their papers, their projects. And as I mentioned, it also integrates with our mobile app, which is right here. And I don't know how well you can see that, but with my account, I'll have my CloudPak folder automatically here. And I may just keep everything in the singular My CloudPak folder. But if I want to, I can create subfolders by typing a name here at the bottom and clicking Add. So for my example for you today, I've created subfolders for the classes I'm taking this semester. Plus, I've started working on my resume. If I want to add something to a folder, I will highlight it. I'll click Add. And here I can upload a file. I can add a URL or a link to a helpful website. I can even create a document from scratch. So let's say I start working on a paper. I come to the library after school and I start doing research and start working on a paper on one of your computers. Well, when I'm done, you probably don't allow me to save my work on your machines. So I will save my paper to my CloudPak, where it will instantly be in my front pocket. Why is my paper in my front pocket? Because that's where I carry my iPhone or my Android phone. And I've downloaded the Brainfuse app. And so my paper is instantly in my front pocket. Or maybe it's in my backpack, because that's where I have my Chromebook or my Android tablet or my iPad. Or maybe my paper is waiting for me at home, because my family does have a home computer that I can use. So with all of this, and with our mobile app, I can also connect with live tutors. I can use the snap and send feature if I want to share something, a paper, or perhaps a handout from class with a tutor. I can use snap and send to share that. I can replay past sessions, access the writing lab, and a host of other tools and resources in the mobile app. Next up, we have the Adult Learning Center, which is designed to assist adults. Over here on the left, I can prep for high school equivalency, study materials, queue up and take practice tests, and access live tutors. Same for newcomers to the community that may be working towards citizenship. They can access study materials, live tutors, and practice tests. Microsoft Office help, online resources, and I can connect with live tutors for help with Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. And these last two buttons, career resources and write a winning resume, are also part of the JobNow service. So even if I don't subscribe to JobNow, I can still access the Resume Writing Lab to get professional help with creating or updating or polishing my resume. I just won't have access to the job coaches, interview coaches, and unemployment benefit navigators. Over here is more of the academic support for the Adult Learning Center. So rather than selecting a grade level, I'll select basic, intermediate, or advanced. If I choose basic or intermediate, I can choose math, reading, and writing. If I choose advanced, I have more subjects to select from. Adult learners, maybe I'm not taking a class, but I just want to brush up or work on my reading skills or my writing skills or my math skills. I can connect with tutors who can load lessons that are designed for adult learners to brush up on those necessary skills, if I'm curious to do so. The writing lab. I may not have a book report assignment, but maybe I enjoy writing poetry or creative stories. So I'm going to write a letter to the editor of the newspaper, or a letter of praise or complaint to someone that I do business with. But before I put a stamp on the envelope or hit send on my email, I may want someone to take a look at what I've written or created. There's also a test center for adult learners and the ability to send in questions during times when live tutors aren't available. So that covers everything that's in HelpNow. I'm going to super quickly jump over to JobNow, where again, each of our services can be subscribed to as a standalone, but if I bundle 2 or more, there's additional advantages. And by going through CLC, you get pricing that is much stronger than if you were accessing us directly, or perhaps a library in New Jersey or a library in Rhode Island, where we don't have a similar type program. And so working with CLC has been a wonderful partnership over the years, and you benefit by a better pricing structure for your library. So I can connect with live job coaches as I'm going through a job search, and they're there to answer questions. Some examples might be, how do I research a company, or what should I wear to the meeting? Or I have a job application, but I don't understand Section 3. So the coach is just there that I can connect with anytime as I'm going through my job search for help. Now, one of our newer enhancements that is about 2 years old now is access to an unemployment benefits navigator. And so if I lost my job yesterday, in addition to starting a job search today, I may be a little unsure of how to claim the benefits that I've earned. And so I can connect with a navigator to answer questions and get help. And there are also online resources here as well. Career assessments. These are some third-party links that we've connected with and vetted, interest profiler and assessments and so on. Job resources. These are different job posting sites. I like to call the usual suspects: Indeed.com, CareerBuilder, Monster.com, and so on. Also sites for students and recent grads, as well as for veterans. Also, you know your communities better than we do. So if there are any local, regional, or statewide resources that you would like for us to include in a local resource folder, we invite you to share those with us and we'll add them. Now here's a biggie: Skill Surfer. You may recall we went through Skill Surfer with HelpNow, but depending upon what service you're subscribing to, there's going to be access to different resources. And there is going to be some overlap. You'll remember that there was high school equivalency test prep in HelpNow, also college entrance test prep in the College Now. But you didn't have the college placement test AccuPlacer support, some of the basic college support. And here's the big one for me, in my opinion, the career prep and job resources section. If I'm pursuing a job that requires the taking and passing of a test or an assessment, perhaps to get a certification or for other purposes, I can come into this section and we cover virtually every vocation out there, from accountants and auditors all the way to wholesale and retail buyers. And if I jump around a little bit, accountants and auditors, actuaries, air traffic controllers, chemists and material scientists, cost estimators, financial managers, internists, management analysts. There's a very healthy list here. So let's say I'm pursuing a job in civil service. If I go to the civil service professionals section, here you'll see civil service online test prep, clerical exam guides, USPS careers, federal government jobs. At the bottom, postal worker exam practice tests 1 and 2. So there's a lot here to assist the job seeker. In addition to career prep and job resources, a separate section: nursing school exams, Praxis, ABSVAC, computer and technology, but also graduate school entrance test prep, so I can prep for the GRE here or the GMAT. Research and presentation skills. and the adult learner and ESL section that was also part of HelpNow. There's eParachute that we talked about briefly, but I'll show a little bit more. So eParachute can be a great resource, especially if I'm looking for a job, but I'm not quite sure what it is that I want to do. So we can go into the Discover section, and we'll start off with work that I've done. People, types that I like. Am I introverted or extroverted? Do I enjoy working in groups or more prefer to work alone or in smaller groups? Fields that you love, skills I enjoy. And by the time I'm done putting this information in, it will suggest jobs or careers that I may want to pursue based upon my input. Also, under the Explore area, this is where I mentioned earlier, the suggest majors. So I can input information and it will suggest majors if I'm a incoming or early stage college student. So eParachute is a great partnership and resource. So over here, I figured out what I want to do and who I want to do it for. And I need a resume, either to update my resume or polish it, or maybe create something from scratch. So I can connect in real time with a live resume writing specialist. I also have word-based templates that I can download. We all know for some people, the scariest thing in the world is a blank piece of paper. So the ability to download a template that I can begin to fill in my information can be very helpful for some people. There are online resources, very important, access to the Resume Writing Lab. I'll make the same point that I did with the Writing Lab for students. We can do a more thorough critique and analysis if you upload and send your resume, just like if you send your paper in, and within 24 hours, we'll do the deep dive of your resume and send it back with suggested changes and edits. If you don't have time for that, you can certainly connect in real time, or if it's more of a polishing exercise, can connect in real time with a resume writing specialist. And so here's an example of a paper that's been uploaded and critiqued. You may not be aware, but a professional resume critique isn't cheap. The last time I checked, Monster.com was charging between $150 and upwards of $400 to use their resume review services. Well, it's our assertion that those that most need this type of help are least likely able to budget those types of dollars. And so this is a real benefit to your community. Also, let's say I lost my job yesterday for the company I've worked for the last 15 years. I may think all I need to do is take out my old resume and add a few paragraphs to cover what I've done in recent years. I may not be aware, and at the top of my old resume, I have a career objective because the last time I worked on my resume, that's what I was told I should have at the top of my resume. Well, I'm not a resume writing expert. How should I know that in the last recent years, the career objective has fallen out of favor? And we wouldn't recommend anyone having that at the top of their resume. I wouldn't know that. So again, I recommend sending your resume in, and there are other ways to share that information within your resume. So we regularly get very high marks for the quality of our resume critiques and reviews. So, oh, and I also want to quickly go through another partnership we have with Optimal Resume. Optimal Resume is a wonderful online resume building tool. And we've all seen the quote unquote free resume builders online that sometimes are free right up into the moment where you want to save or print your resume. And then all of a sudden you need to put in a credit card number. Well, that's not this. Through our partnership with them, I can go through and create a resume from scratch. They have a lot of great resources, which I don't have time to go into everything here, but they can also help craft a business correspondence or create a portfolio if I'm going into architecture or fashion design, and it would behoove me to have a portfolio. Some interview tips, and many people today create their own personal branding website. So you can get help with that here as well. And there's a lot of other great things that I don't have time to go into with Optimal Resume as well. And so here I figured out what I want to do. Here I've created or updated or polished my resume that I've sent out. And lo and behold, someone wants to meet with me. Well, we all know far too many people don't think about the interview before they're sitting across the desk from someone. And not everyone, or the webcam, and not everyone knows how they're going to respond to, well, why should we hire you? Or what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And it's those that prep in advance that will have a leg up on those that go in and wing it. So I can connect with interview coaches to strategize ways to put my best foot forward. I can do mock interviews. Maybe I've been out of work for a while and I never know how to talk about, this gap, this time that I've been away from working. And so the interview coach can work with me on that. There's also online tips, online resources. Here at the top, we have a link for Indeed.com so I can quickly find job postings that are available in my community. So I just did a super wrap up of JobNow, and then I'm going to ask if there are any questions, and I will also show you just very quickly. Let me lower this. Here's the Vet Now homepage, where I can access the VA benefit navigators and the career transition support and the college level tutoring for veterans in the community and assisting them as well. So I've used up my hour. I still have some time if there are any questions, but I do want to be respectful of your time. Any questions or feedback, or should we move on? Get on with our day.
And do feel free to unmute yourself and speak right up if you have a question.
And I see a couple of things in the chat area. Well, Claudette said this is pretty amazing. Thank you so much, Claudette. And then Julie posted some helpful links. So thank you, Julie.
Excellent. Well, if there are no questions, Jack, thank you so much for your time and for this thorough demo. And we will see you soon, we hope.
Thank you. Everyone have a great day. And if there are any follow-up questions, we're available to you afterwards. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.